Oh, biblically accurate angel.
Ooh. Biblically accurate angel.
Have you seen what a biblically accurate angel
Yeah,
looks
they look like aliens.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah, they look like geometric patterns.
Yeah.
I always wonder what Tucker Carlson's convinced that aliens and devils are that's what like angels and devils and aliens are all the same thing. He thinks that they're not visiting from somewhere else, that they've always been here, and that there's some sort of spiritual aspect to like the UFO encounter, UAP phenomenon.
Oh, I see. Yes. Well, there's a lot of interesting pictures that are, drawn on cave walls.
Oh, yeah.
And things like that.
Oh, we've gone over a shit ton of them.
Yeah.
And then also ancient religious art where it looks like people are in vehicles flying through the sky. I'm sure you've seen those
I've
too,
seen
right?
those too.
Yeah, like what is that? Like what are you trying to... There's no other stuff that you're in that thing that's fantastical. Mm-hmm. Everything else is like an accurate representation of life at that time, except for these people that are in these flying things in the sky. Like, what is that?
Yeah.
We just don't know, unfortunately.
When I looked at all of the credible UFO reports, the only ones that really had no explanation, I actually asked ChatGPT, of all of the credible of all of the UFO reports, which ones have not in some way been sort of explained, right? And which ones are the ones that are still like, and the one that was not, the one that's still sort of outstanding is the USS Nimitz experience.
Yeah. Commander David Fravor.
Right.
Yeah, I've had him on the podcast talking about it.
Have you really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems to be the most compelling.
There's other ones, though.
Yeah.
Ryan Graves. He's another fighter pilot, and that was off the East Coast. So the Nimitz is off the coast of San Diego. But off the East Coast, they upgraded their sensors in 2014 on the fighter jets, and then immediately started encountering these things that defied known physics that were in the sky. And, and these guys had these encounters with these things that were like a cube inside of a sphere that's like motionless at 120 knot winds and no heat signature and moving through the sky. They don't know what the fuck they are.
What do you say to the theory of the possibility that is sort of black ops? Like the idea that the SR-71, I think,
Blackbird.
The Blackbird. There's a company called Skunk Works, right? And they were responsible for the declassification of that aircraft, and then I think the F-111 or the stealth bombers, and but since then, and that was like 25 years ago or more, there have not been any more declassifications.
Yeah, it's a good argument.
I'm curious as to like what in 25 years, based on the technology that we've been able to see that makes it to modern society, how much is held back, and what we don't see, it just interests me, and I don't know. I don't have an answer. I'm not asking myself whether I actually believe that it's almost unlikely that we have that technology, but because I feel like it would just take so much more than we may be capable of to cover it up, but maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it would. I think there's a high likelihood that a lot of this stuff is ours. And I think one of the reasons for that statement is that this stuff always happens over military airspace. Yeah. East Coast and West Coast. Like, so the East Coast stuff, the Ryan Graves stuff, they're doing it over areas where these fighter jet pilots run training missions. Yeah. And then the same thing as the West Coast stuff, like where it's off the coast of San Diego, which is like tons of military out there. Yeah. I do believe that there's some programs that are operational, and there's a great podcast. Jesse Michaels has an amazing YouTube channel that's he's covered this stuff like really extensively, and he's a brilliant guy. He really understands it, and they were working on some anti-gravity technology in the 1960s. Yeah, and most likely they continued that work. Yeah, artificial horizon technology and stuff like that. That I mean, it's got to have come far since then. Yeah, and there's the idea that they could hide all that stuff. No, they could never hide it. Of course they could. Of course they could. They definitely could. You're being naive. You're being naive as to how much the government can hide. I'm only asking the question. Not you. I don't mean you. Yeah, I mean people that say that. I actually pretty much, that's where I lean towards when it comes to that. I think some of it, but some of it also could be from somewhere else. And I think some of it just exhibits, like the Nimitz one. Okay, this is 2004. So this tic-tac goes from more than 50,000 feet above sea level to sea level in less than a second.
Yeah.
Like 7/8 of a second.
Sure.
Like, that's crazy.
That is.
That's
and you're
crazy.
right.
Like,
and
what is that?
And it changes it when you remember how long ago these things were being seen.
Right. Because this is 2004. But then you go back to the 1960s. If they're really working on anti-gravity technology back then, it's possible that they could have created a drone.
Right.
The thing is, like, could a human being survive inside of those things at those extreme speeds? Well, the question is, like, what are they experiencing in that? Because if it's a gravity device, if it's moving, if it's manipulating gravity, so it might not have G-forces at all. It might be operating in a completely different paradigm.
Yeah, well, there may be sort of just, trillions of alternate sort of, momentum shifts in the outside protective layer that balance out whatever's happening on the inside to the point where, they're using just crazy technology.
That's also why the argument is that they're blurry. Like, so a lot of the photographs of these things are blurry. It might be because they're actually existing in some sort of a gravity, like, void.
Yeah.
And what you're seeing is not exactly what's there. You're seeing it through, like, a dirty windshield.
I've seen some stuff.
Have you?
Yeah.
What have you seen?
When I was in Maui, twice I've seen something that I could not explain. The one time I looked up and about 9 of us were hanging out. And we all looked up at the same time to see an orange orb. And it looked like it was 100 yards away, maybe 200, just floating, kind of observing. And then I swear it seemed like as soon as enough people saw it, it went whoosh, and then it went whoosh, and it moved like nothing else I thought possible at the time. It went out of the atmosphere, and it was crazy, faster than any drone. And this was back in like 2004, 2005, maybe. So it was we were all young. I was maybe a little teenager, so it was probably like 2006. But it was like. It was crazy. I'm not telling you. Well, a
lot of them happen near the ocean too, which is interesting.
And another one, I was out on Lanai and we were hanging out with some friends and we were laying down on the lawn, and when you're out in Lanai, on the backside of Lanai, there's no light pollution at all, and so you have just this big giant fishbowl of stars, and it's the most incredible. It's like you're sitting in a
spaceship.
In a spaceship,
yeah.
Exactly, and you feel that you're on spaceship Earth at the time. Like you are on that rock hurtling through space at that point. And I saw this. It scared the girls. We all saw this pulsing colored thing go from one side of the horizon to the other, but in a very, like, it was like pulsing different colors, and it was like really interesting. And so, who knows what that could have been, but it was quite interesting.
Well,
I'll never forget
vast majority of the ocean floor is unexplored.
Right.
And so this is the theory, is that if you were going to set up a base here to observe human beings, if you came from somewhere else, you would probably do it in the ocean, especially if you have the kind of technology that would allow them to travel here from other star systems, would also allow them to not be intimidated whatsoever by
the pressures.
Yes.
I mean, that's, I guess, the deep pressure is what would be the, it's almost the opposite of being in space. The vacuum, and then you have the deep pressure of that like, with the.
But there's videos of these things going in the water and not creating a splash.
Yeah.
So, like, what is that? Is it a hologram? So is it not a physical object? Yeah. Or are they doing something that allows them to not interact with any physical thing on Earth? Like some sort of a void that they travel through. So they can go through the trees. This is like part of Jacques Vallée's research too. In one of his books that was really fascinating was this woman observed this like egg-shaped thing, and when it took off, it went through the trees, but it didn't hurt the trees. But it was on the ground, like as a physical object, and when it took off, it went through the trees.
Well, I wonder if then, we're talking about like bending space-time.
Yeah.
At that point, are you creating some sort of like warp.
Yeah, you're creating some sort of a
warp drive thing.
That's the idea.
You know, where you're just like warping space and time around a centralized location, and you sort of have to be, you know, use sort of the, you know, these like different sort of exotic forms of matter, and having an understanding of exotic matter, which we're now just starting to understand that there are these exotic matter types that, you know, that work in these weird ways. But if you read about it now, the only information available is that we're only like cracking the surface of the understanding of these types of matter, and
maybe
like
we are
hundreds of thousands of years away from understanding that.
But I mean, you know, that's that old saying that any technology that's sufficiently advanced is indistinguishable from magic. Is it Carl Sagan said that? I forget who said that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if you're looking at something from 1,000 years from now, it would seem like magic. I mean, if we continue, we don't blow ourselves up, and science and AI continue to figure out more compelling uses of universal energy, like whatever background energy that we have.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Well,
Who knows what human beings will be capable of? So you got to imagine if something's visiting us from somewhere else, especially if they have artificial super intelligence.
Yeah.
If they've traversed this journey that we're on, if they've gotten to the point where whatever we're currently investigating, whatever they're working on right now in terms of like super intelligent AI, what if they've gone through that and they're 1,000 years more advanced? All that stuff would be probably simple for them to be able to go through the water, to have these transmedium crafts that are capable of flying in the air, through the water.
Right. Well, the interesting question for ourselves is how do we get to a place as a society to where we can trust in our science, we can trust to say that we trust it enough to fund it. You know,
well, that's not trust in the science. The problem is the human beings that are in possession of the science.
Well, but that's what I mean. Like, how do we restore faith in that? And because there, you know, it's not all bullshit. There is real, you know, like we wouldn't exist where we are without the science that has brought us to where we are.
Yeah, technology.
Yeah. And so understanding and trusting and figuring out how to restore faith in certain institutions that we have, because we need them to survive and to keep going, you know. So it's like not tearing down the airplane while it's falling. You have to repair the airplane from inside, you know, and then keep it flying if you can, you know. So is there a way to like right the ship while we're in it?
Well, I think the problem is a lot of this stuff is military funding, right? So a lot of the applications for any sort of like super advanced technology is going to be weapon systems.
Right.
And that's what everybody's terrified of. What they're terrified of is that you're going to develop more efficient ways to kill people.
Yeah.
And that's really the only way these things get funded. You know, they're not going to...
No, that's the problem.
Yeah.
I'm just what I'm saying. I'm like, well, how do we switch it so that we can, you know, have people in power that really are looking out for the future of humanity.
Yeah.
And then have people that actually want that